Hi, my name is Rachel. Welcome to my channel, Learning with Boys. Today I want to talk about my fourth grader and what we've been doing with Heart of Dakota, preparing hearts for his glory. I'm going to open this up and show you what we've done the last month or so and just some suggestions and how things are looking, and it's going well. But I just wanted to give you some ideas and encourage you, especially if you're curious what's going on between like weeks 10 to 14 and what will happen when we start back in 15. And also I'm going to share with you some things that I read aloud. After I show you the inside of this, I'm going to come back and share with you a read aloud that we've done this past month and have really enjoyed. And I think that and some of the movies that we watched right afterwards would be great for January. They're like winter time. So, and also some of the other books that he's been looking at and we all been looking at and reading. So watch all the way through if you want to see those. I appreciate you all watching, and if you like this type of content, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and let's turn around and look at what we've been working on. Okay, I'm trying to remember where I left off for you all. I feel like I know I talked about reading Aesop's fables and also dealing with the Trojan horse, which he really enjoyed. And we're actually are just finishing up The Great Dinosaur Mystery. And that was with Unit 10, and then there's 4 days a week, and this is day 4. And we begin with The Young Christian Introduction to the Bible. Let me show you a little bit of that book. And as you notice, there's always a scripture here that they want you to read. I enjoy so much how she brings so much scripture in to back up what's being talked about, okay? Especially with this book. Let me show you that book. Okay. It is very, I don't want to say it's basic because I feel like it's in depth at the same time, but you're just going to be talking about what the Bible is and how we got the Bible. It's going to talk about all the different books of the Bible and gives you short overview. And she takes her time going through this. It's not like you're reading the whole book. I think there's even a jump around. But so it is a lot of reading. There was times actually I overread and I didn't feel like I read too much. Like I was like, oh, I was supposed to stop earlier and I didn't, but that's okay because I didn't feel like we did. It gives you, it tells you what each book falls underneath for titles, and then it just gives you little paragraphs about what each book of the Bible is about, and that's all towards the end. So this was really, really good, and we really enjoy this book. So, and different at the end, where can I find it? And there's different subjects, different stories of the Bible, and it gives you scripture of where you can find them. So, and it looks like it's in alphabetical order. So like maybe you wanted to talk about baptism. It tells you some verses that you could look into. And like I said, this is not done all in one reading. It's done actually, I think, over 2 or 3 weeks. But I'll double check myself here in a minute. Once we get into week 11, there's a lot of the Grandpa box, which we really enjoy, and a lot of scripture for your story time. Now that's a little bit different. So you're not, the main book you'll be reading during your independent study will be this book. And we do that together. Really, it would have been fine if he read it on his own. So I will tell you that. There's nothing in there. It's absolutely fine. It's just I like to see where he's at and we can discuss what he's talking about. And then, of course, Grandpa's box. That's one of your main spines. And that's done, I want to say, for a couple weeks. because of where you're at in the story. You're talking a lot about Judah and Israel and the kingdom splitting. And it looks like you can even, for the history projects, which we have not been doing, we have cut back on some things, and that's okay. Like I said in the past, we've done a lot of all this stuff with my other boys. This year, I'm doing this with my youngest by himself, and with older brothers, there's just a lot going on. So we've cut back on some of that. We're not doing the poetry either. Copying some verses again. I want to say there was a spot in here, and I can't remember exactly where, but let me show you. Okay, they suggest that you have a map of Israel, and I wish I could tell you where I found this. Canaan divided by the 12 tribes and their names, and obviously it was probably in color. And we just reviewed that a lot. I have the answer key for him. I printed this off. I wish I could tell you, but I don't think it would be hard to find a free printable online for this. So this is not something that was added in there. But we went, I don't even think he did it all in one day, filling in some of the names, getting familiar with them, and of course it was talked about that week. So, and it may have just had you draw the map. So, my suggestion for between story time and Grandpa's box so far, yeah, I think it's mostly Grandpa's box. When we're talking about the kings and the division and all that happens, I felt like it was better for me to read the scripture first before reading this. And they can even take turns reading this to you. So, I mean, here it's quite a bit. It's a couple verses here and then like 21 here. You may want to preview it, and it's up to you. My son sometimes would start reading, and when he's like, okay, you can read now, Mom, I would do the reading. Or sometimes we would just go back and forth. Like he would read a couple verses, and then I would read a couple verses. But I feel like just reading this first just sort of helped this be the stopping point, because there's always a great emphasis here. I did want to suggest that. So, and really, for story time, all the way, I want to say, you're coming into Daniel, and now here we're reading A Child's History of the World, which is, let me lean over here, which is this book, and we're talking about Belshazzar, how he became king of Babylon, and remember he dealt with Daniel. So it does go to that book a little bit for some history on how he became king. Let's see. And I think that's it. And here you are. You're still doing the introduction to the Bible, the Young Christian's introduction. And I do feel like we stopped and did a couple other things, but maybe I'm wrong. It looks like quite a few of that. And we're still in the Dinosaur Mystery book, which is this one, which he really enjoys that. And they ask some really good questions, just to make you think and, know that God is the creator and has a reason for all things. So, and here's Ezra, Esther. We talked about Esther. And then 14, day 1. And this is the week that we finished up. And I will show you a new book that we started reading, which was Hero Tales. Okay, this is Hero Tales. And there's always good stories in here. A Child's History of the World. And they actually gave you 2 sections to read for Hero Tales. Talk about India. So, let's see, we read 45. Adoniram and Ann Judson. We read about them. And I know it seems long because I want to say, yes, 10 pages. But like I said, it's just enjoyable reading where you don't feel like you're reading that much. And it is, I mean, it's bigger words too. It's actually like probably 2 or 3 little chapters is what it is about their lives. It gives an introduction and then it starts from the beginning of their life, their story. So, and I think he's really enjoyed that. And that's really something they could read out loud to you. But that's what we finished. And I was trying to make sure we did do another draw and write through now history. We're getting into China, and that was another Hero Tales story with China. And so we were drawing the silkworm, talking about China in the child's history of the world, and the different religions, and not confusing, even sometimes when it sounds good, not to confuse it with Christianity. So that was, it's always good to read the key ideas and then maybe even expound on those, you know, if your child has a questioning look. But I feel like mine has not had any trouble understanding. I think it just has made things more solid for him. So we finished this week. Now, at the end of this week, it starts a new book, Triumph for Flavius. And let me show you that book. Okay, I'm going to show you this book because we were supposed to read, actually it split the first chapter in day 3 and day 4. And I decided not to read it because we're finishing up 14 this week. So this was the only thing I didn't read. I read the other parts of the history and the science. We can just read that the first day when we're back. Because I'd rather it be not read the first chapter and then wait a couple weeks. But this is a very good book. It's not long, but it's such a good story. It's a touching story of a young Roman boy, Flavius, and his developing compassion for his captured Greek slave, and who's older. And there's a lot of mystery in it. So I think I know my son will enjoy it, and looking forward to that. And we'll actually also start a new science, which is find the constellations. And I think he's really going to enjoy this part because he's been very curious about things. When we see the moon and the stars and whether that's a planet or the North Star, he's always asking questions. So I think this will be a fun study for him for that. I also wanted to share a few things he has been reading himself or listening to this past month and a half or so. Okay, I said reading to himself, but this actually has been a family read aloud, and we have enjoyed this book so much. I have read it to my other boys when they were younger, Snow Treasures, and it's really about a group of family from Norway who find out that the Nazis are probably coming, but they have to hide the gold. They don't want the enemy to get the gold to buy all the supplies for their selves to destroy their country. So the children end up getting involved and helping, and it's a big secret, and it's really neat how it all works out. And ended up pulling out a couple movies, and I'll share those with you that I felt were sort of could go along with that a little bit. And this is The Printing. It's an old movie, I know, but it's from BJU. But it's really good. It's a different time period, of course, because it's not during World War II, but not long after that. So about the printing of the Bibles that they're trying to hide in Russia. Now, my older son is actually just talked about Gutenberg, which my younger one overheard. He listens to a lot of what we talk about and what we read for my 9th grader. So it sort of all went together. And then we also watched Hans Brinker. I don't know if any of you have seen this, but it's an old Disney movie, and we've seen it. We usually just get it at the library. But it's a boy in Holland who his dad becomes seriously ill, and he has to get money, and there's an ice skating competition, and there's a lot of mystery and travel. It gives you an idea of how maybe when I'm watching this, I could think that must have been maybe how the house may have looked in Norway at the time. So it is sort of neat to watch it after reading that book. So wanted to share those with you because maybe for January you wanted some type of winter type books or movies to watch. That might be fun. He also has an interest in ships, but that can be from any time period. He will pick up books and look at that kind of thing. And then he likes to build. He'll lay the books out in his room and build Legos or draw pictures. And he was also doing that with castles. He was actually trying to build different forts. I think he found a couple books on castles. I don't have all of them in front of me. I do have this one book that had nothing to do with ships or castles, but it was the GI dogs. I found it at the library. Hero pup of World War I, which is Sergeant Stubby. I don't know if any of you have seen the little animated movie, but there is a movie, Sergeant Stubby, and if you haven't seen it, he loves the movie, and it really is a good movie for kids. It's good history movie for younger ones. So he was excited to find it's from Scholastic. I don't know much more than that, and he read through this. So I did want to mention that. Also, I purchased this book. I'm just going to show you the outside, The Chronicle of America. And the reason I got this book, and I'll show you how thick it is. I took the cover off because it's easier for him to look at. It's a big old book, but I enjoy watching Mom Delights. Her name is Sherry Hayes, and she's a mom like of 15 kids, I think, and she mentioned this book. I have it upside down. She mentioned this book and that her kids really enjoy going through it, and I thought he would love that. Of course, it is an older book. I found it used on Amazon, but it just, there's always the date. It's in the order of American history, so it is an American history book, and then it's sort of like in a news articles. So she had mentioned this in one of her videos. I think it had to do, I was looking at something for U.S. history for my older son, and she had shown this, and they both looked through it. His grandma was here for Thanksgiving, and they enjoyed looking through it because she loves history. So it just sits in our living room, and it's something to look at and refer to. So I wanted to mention that. Here is one of the books, the classic warships that he got from the library. That is down here. I need to put that with, and just all different ships. He was into doing carriers and battleships from World War II, but then he started trying to build other ships and draw them, which is great. So also we switched over for Bible, and I mentioned this in one of my other videos, but we're just doing, I'll show you, the Christmas from Rebecca. We do the flashcards, and we really just, I haven't even been reading out this book. We really just been reading the scripture along with the story, and they have the flashcards. And you don't have to have this. I have a lot of them, and I do enjoy them, but I use them for other teaching situations that may arise with children, and I did use them a lot when my older boys were younger. So, but they're a very good way if you have several younger kids to just keep their attention and tell the stories of the Bible. So wanted to share those things with you. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope it was helpful to see where we are at with my fourth grader this year, ending our Christmas break already, and going to be starting probably the first week of January. We're going to have to get back. So I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas and a great New Year, and we'll talk to you later. Thank you for watching.